Hello, hello. Good morning, friends. Good morning, fam. Welcome, Kadena Army, and welcome back to Kadena Campfire Community Call number 13. This one's very hotly anticipated as we have Kadena's very own Will and Stuart with us here today. Hello, Stuart. Hello, Will.
Hey, Tyler. Good to see you.
Hey,
Tyler.
great to have you on here. So I think this is the dream team right now. We've had you both on individually before. Really stoked to have you both here, and I know community is really excited as well. I see that wow, as of an hour and 40 minutes ago, people were already in the chat having conversations. Tomislav, congrats on being the first message there. That's some commitment to the cause. Appreciate you. M in close second. But yeah, really excited to have you both here. So we're going to have a consistent, similar format to normal. We'll start off with some Kadena updates. We'll jump into some questions that have been asked on Discord, Twitter, and of course, we're going to make a lot of time for a live Q&A. So folks that are here in the chat, please say hello. Please ask questions. Let's see here. I'm going to just highlight a few folks here. I will be at soccer, but ask nice questions. Thanks for that, Frank Fractal. All right, we got a ton of questions. So I guess we're going to just jump into updates, and I'll try and catch up with some of the comments as we go in here. So Stuart, can I turn it over to you first for some updates? Or, oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, Will, can I turn over to you first for some updates?
Sure. The big one is that Randy Dahl, our previous developer experience lead, has now been promoted to our chief experience officer, which is just a huge congratulations to him. As CXO, Randy is going to develop and execute strategies to improve and provide users with exceptional experiences for across all of Kadena's products and services. I was asked to actually give a touch of background about like how we found Randy. So for years, I have been looking for someone who kind of like fit Randy's shape of like someone who's extremely senior in JavaScript, who knows how to build teams, who has startup experience, and but also knows how to build front-end communities and open source communities, and has experience doing conferences. And there are vanishingly few people in the world who fit this mold. And so I think we spent like 3 years like keeping our eyes out and paying our contacts for someone like that. And when I was talking with the Katie launch people, actually, that was how we got put in touch with Randy, because I mentioned to them that, like, hey, like, we actually are looking for someone kind of like this. Do you have anyone in mind? And like, oh, wait, I think like one of my cousins might be, ready to like jump from where he is and would be a really good fit. So we met Randy, and now it's been, what, a year and a half since we met Randy, a little bit less. Stu, how big is his team at this point?
It's like half of Kadena. It's like 20 plus.
It's amazing how his ability to like build that team up and scale. He's been doing amazing work. And it's always been like, it's something that we knew early on that like neither Stuart or I are JavaScript programmers, and our ability to actually put together like modern JavaScript APIs for developers was okay, but it wasn't like amazing. And then Randy's come in and just like completely, been able to like redo all of it. It's been fantastic. And I'm really looking forward now that all of the Kadena JS stuff is pretty much not done, but it's much further along that we can start switching over to it, that we can go and like update our docs and update our website and all the other stuff that we've been talking about, because we didn't want to do it for the old version, because if we do it for the old version, then the new version, we'll have to redo all of that stuff, and it's a huge amount of wasted time and effort. So I'm just really excited to see where all of this goes, and also really excited to leverage his skills in doing hopefully our first conference at some point, maybe this year, which would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll add a little to that just to say that one of the things that JavaScript, the world of JavaScript developers expect is they expect a very welcoming and immersive experience for education and onboarding and, getting to play with the tech. And so we are in the process of a complete website. This stuff is already in process. We have the learning platform. We've announced that before, that we've got some, early devs involved in that. But what this really is about is making it that when you see Kadena for the first time as a builder, as a developer, as an investor, that there are ways that you can get involved right away, whether that's, creating a wallet or writing a Pax smart contract or getting involved with our learning platform, and, and the kind of modern experience that JavaScript developers expect, which is that, that there's a very, coordinated and cohesive experience that you have when you come to our docs or you come to our website. And, and that's what Randy is really taking us toward at lightning speed. So it may not, like these are all things that have been building over the last year. So like expect to see a lot of things showing up over the summer and early fall that will really transform the way people get to know and power up to become, master Kadenians. And it'll all be with Randy. And that's one of the reasons we promoted him is so that he can really, so that we can get out of his way and let him just do his thing. And not only that, but it also involves working with, there's a lot of commercial things he'll be in charge of in terms of scaling our dev effort for working with other builder teams, in terms of, one day you won't even come to Kadena when you want to build on Kadena. You'll come to one of these teams who have like, deep pact expertise and work directly with them. And of course, we're only too happy to see those kinds of things happen.
Awesome. So a couple other quick updates, then we'll jump in. So first of all, the builders call last week was a smashing success. So stay tuned for more there. We'll keep those up. I know that's becoming a hotly anticipated call for builders and a way to connect on a more technical level to the team. And then finally, briefly, Wallet Connect V2 is now live on Koala Wallet. So that allows for seamless integration with other Kadena projects. Pretty exciting. Go check it out on iOS, Android. Really awesome wallet experience. So you should definitely be aware of Koala Wallet by now if you frequent our campfires, as they're a consistent presence in the chat and such. So definitely come look at that. And finally, I just want to say that we are currently at a record rate in terms of number of live viewers for just a few minutes in on the campfire. For those that regularly tune in, you know that we tend to pick up steam as the stream goes along. I also want to just highlight that anytime you throw a like or a comment on this stream, you're helping to increase the ranking of the algorithms on the video, and that helps disseminate this video and news about Kadena to a broader audience. And what better way to introduce people to Kadena than through a conversation with Will and Stuart. So definitely hit that like button or post some comments, and appreciate you all being here today. So without further ado or pageantry, we will jump into some Q&A. We're going to start off with some questions from Discord. I'm going to go ahead and jump to this question from Pericles Galanakis off of Twitter. What is a vision you had when starting Kadena, and how has it changed over time? If you went back in time, what would you have done differently?
Will, you start.
Sure. So a vision we had when starting. I'll say what we've been saying since we started this, I guess. So Stuart and I met at JP Morgan. We were building out JP Morgan Coin for them, their center of excellence for blockchain excellence, and we were doing tech DD. And we had everyone coming through, like Hyperledger, like Vitalik was in one of the boardrooms at one of the points because Ethereum hadn't launched yet. And we had this list of, it wasn't even a long list, but just of like features we knew that needed to be in a system for actual industrial adoption to take place. And we just knew that these systems didn't have it and it was going to stand in the way of industrial adoption. So when we first left, it was to go and build that system. And then over time, we realized that blockchains are much closer to like a supply chain than it is to a traditional Web 2 kind of API like company, because with a Web 2 thing, you can move fast, you can break things, you can upgrade what you're doing really quickly. Whereas a supply chain, once you set up the actual the manufacturing, the hardware manufacturing line for it, you can't really upgrade the factories very easily. You can kind of tweak things a little bit, but that's about it. So the vision for Kadena was that, assume that crypto is going to be industrial adopted by 2030 and build the tech and the actual system that you would need for that to become a reality, that is required for that to become a reality up front, because you can't actually upgrade to that state. If you think of Solidity, there have been very few modifications to Solidity, because if they were to go and fix the security problems with it, you would all of a sudden have these two basically incompatible versions of Solidity running around. And one would have billions of dollars locked up, and then the other one would have nothing. And because it has nothing, no one's going to migrate over because all the billions are over here. So you can't actually do breaking changes to make things safer. So we knew we had to build it from the start. And I mean, other stuff with scalability. We knew we needed to have that cracked before we even launched, before we even raised around it. So that was why I was so upfront. And then you have the safety and pact and the rest of the stuff. I'll let Stu get into that one. What would we do different? I think I probably would have built a DApp on Ethereum, like before. I probably like at JP Morgan. I feel like I should have built a DApp on Ethereum just to like have the physical experience of actually doing it, because I didn't, and that I think that there was a somewhat of a blind spot around like the developer experience that we fixed now. But I think it took me a little while to get my head around, okay, like what are these things actually like to use? I think that's probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Will covered the, kind of why we started and, in that story. The main thing I would think that we would have done, I mean, there's a million things that look different in the rearview mirror. One thing is that I think it's similar to what Will is saying in the sense that like we kind of came late to really understanding how crypto communities work and how central that is to driving a public blockchain crypto project. And it's interesting because now we're, one of the things, getting back to Randy being promoted to CXO, is that, Randy's background is in, kind of large scale software development. He had a couple companies, a successful exit, and so he was originally a Java developer, so he's a powerhouse of like industrial software development. And so he's kind of like circling back to some of the things that we were, in our early days, we actually had revenue making, POCs, making proof of concept applications for commercial insurance, for healthcare. We had a number of these things going on where, people were paying to learn Pact, and, this was before the public blockchain even launched. And we jettisoned all that because we wanted to focus on the public blockchain, and, enterprise blockchain didn't work out very well. I mean, that's putting it extremely mildly, given that there was probably over, a couple $1 billion of investment into private blockchain in 2016, 2017. It's all gone now. All those companies, we're the only company that survived. And we survived because we embraced crypto. So what's a really interesting thing that's happening now is part of one of the messages we're going to start sending a lot more now is this idea that it's not so much about Web3 changing the world. It's about the fact that crypto and Web2 have something to teach each other. That Web2 knows how to build experiences that really bring users in and make them feel comfortable and give them something they really want. Like, we believe that that's surrounding the smart wallet experience, all the stuff you're seeing coming out, Koala, with the Koala wallet, all the other, Wallet Connect, all this kind of stuff. And eventually a smart wallet specification is something that is actually going to change people's lives in terms of having a different experience when they show up and being able to do things they couldn't do before easily. That's something that, of course, is, a lot of crypto companies are trying to do that, but we're really trying to bring, kind of Randy's focus on, like, as they say in JavaScript, awesome. Everything's got to be awesome. So it's going to be awesome to use these Kadena products. But that also means that we can go the other way too, because there's a lot of things starting to happen in Web 2 that would really benefit from the kinds of things that we all take for granted in crypto. And this is the way that crypto is ahead of the curve, is that we're used to having a level of security in terms of ownership of our data, our assets, that's way higher than any other systems. This also, a lot of the stuff we're working on with Zero Knowledge, with ZK technology. To remind everybody here, we rolled out some integration with Electron Labs ZK technology around the start of the year. We now are working with another company. I won't spoil the name because I think that's an announcement that's coming soon. But suffice it to say that we're working with an even more high-powered ZK firm now, who are going to add yet more opportunities in Pact to be able to do things like private transactions. This is the kind of thing that, like, we have the ability to take and the fact that, like, there's a lot of interest in passwordless logins. There's a lot of things that crypto does right. And we can take this to Web 2 and give a compelling experience to Web 2 developers. And it brings it around full circle to where Will and I started, because we wanted to make something that would, we were maybe a little over-focused on really enterprise and industrial. Like, you know, it might have been better to focus more on startups and figure out how we could have really changed there. But, you know, it was probably a little too early for that. Now these things are starting to come together, and that's something that we're going to want to offer to startups, you know, and enterprise. And, you know, and that's a lot of what Randy will be using, a lot of what Randy, his background in terms of going to these JavaScript conferences. And then it's great too, because the final thing I want to say about that is that, you know, we're all here in crypto. Crypto's gotten a bad rap, you know, had a rough year and a half. It's, you know, things don't, you know, there's bad news coming all the time with like Bittrex, you know, you name it. There's like a bad headline every day. So you'd think that like this looks like the biggest trash fire on earth to people who aren't in crypto, but that's not the message we get when we go to these JavaScript conferences and interact with people who've never been to a crypto conference, who've never invested in crypto. These people exist. There's still a lot of people who haven't checked out crypto really at all. And they find out that Kadena is there and telling a story that makes sense about how to use this technology for crypto and for Web 2. They get excited. We get a lot of like good feedback and interaction at these conferences. So that's, I think for Will and I, that's kind of satisfying to see. You know, it's a slightly different version than what we started with, but it's probably what we should have started with. And, you know, and some of that we wouldn't have been able. Like, I think the final part I want to say, and I'm sorry for the long-winded answer, the final part I want to say is that the one part that's definitely we couldn't have done then is tell a story where Web 2 and you know, another enterprise and so-called traditional startups can use something like the Kadena blockchain as a form of public infrastructure. Like, that's something, the idea that infrastructure that you don't have to maintain, that you can set up the gas stations thing is critical for that. You can't do this without gas stations. You have to be able to take the gas part of the experience out of the user's hands and make it that you can just take care of that for them. That's something that's really going to change the game in terms of bringing in more traditional enterprise or startups into this, is that they can do whatever they want, and then they can also take advantage. So in other words, crypto isn't just about coins. It isn't just about speculation, although it's about all those things too. It's also about this idea of public infrastructure. So I'm just excited about what we're doing now. I'm not sure we could have done this then. So I'm really excited about where we're headed now.
Right on, right on. Couple quick things on the side from the chat. Chilean, I have on good authority that someone's reaching out to you about your sweater. So don't worry, my friend. We'll get you that pink hoodie. Also, I know that we've about doubled folks in the live stream right now. For those that have joined us late, we are here with Will and Stuart, two of the founders of Kadena, rather the two founders of Kadena. So great opportunity to ask any questions you have and get introduced to Kadena here. And definitely smash that like or share button as we are picking up steam, my friends. And the more folks we get on the stream, the more folks we can introduce to Kadena and introduce to everything that's going on here. So we have some really, really great questions asked on Twitter and Discord. I'm going to jump to a few of them since we have some good reach right now. I'd like to jump to this question from Discord from Fudo. Imagine I am a young developer who is about to commit to blockchain. I've never learned Solidity nor Haskell. Why start my journey into blockchain with Kadena and Pact?
It's Haskell again, Will.
I know. You don't need to learn Haskell to use our stuff. Go.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think Haskell transmits the fact that, you know, that there's some smart things going on with our technology and our infrastructure, but it's not something that's really supposed to, you know, there's nothing about Haskell you need to know to get involved with Kadena. And frankly, it's good you haven't learned Solidity, because Solidity is really, really hard. And it's not hard. I wouldn't say Solidity is necessarily so hard to learn. It's really hard to actually get to the point where you can roll out an application and have any idea what you're doing. It's very easy to roll out certain applications with Solidity these days, because there's a lot of great projects out there that do things like write the code for you and deploy the contract for you. But if you have a new idea, you want to do something that hasn't been done before, you have some use case you want to create that, you know, uses all the greatest features of crypto, you're going to, I mean, it's just so much easier on Kadena to write this, you know, make your idea happen. And now with the JavaScript monorepo, you know, putting your front end together is going to be really straightforward as well. So It's really about like, you know, if you have, you know, projects and ideas and things you want to do, and you know, you have creative or new ideas and you want to bring those to blockchain, then Kadena is easily the best platform out there, because let's face it, everybody else gave up on innovating on smart contract languages and decided to copy Ethereum and copy the EVM and copy Solidity. It's, you know, with the sole exception of a few projects like Solana and some other ones who decided just to use Rust. And, you know, and we could talk about why we are very opinionated about why you shouldn't use general purpose programming languages to write smart contracts. We, you know, like that, we definitely feel like we're standing on the shoulders of giants with what we've rolled out. Like we feel like we're the, you know, the next evolution of the technology, because, you know, if Bitcoin got some things right, and we took a lot of things from Bitcoin, obviously we took our, you know, we stuck with proof of work. We embraced proof of work. We actually made proof of work better, as opposed to throwing it out. We made it more efficient. We made it something that doesn't waste energy and can continually be more efficient in its usage of energy. We made Pact Turing complete. That's directly descendant from Bitcoin script. But then Ethereum, you know, got a lot of things right too. And as we all know, I mean, Ethereum is the, you know, huge, is the dominant platform. And, you know, and one of the things that they got right is they said you need a special environment for running this application, you know, for running these kinds of applications, the EVM, you know, and Solidity is the dominant language on the EVM. We believe in that. We think that you can't just throw Rust up on a blockchain. As attractive as that sounds, there's so many reasons why that's not the right answer. And so Pact is the kind of ultimate expression of this line of thinking, that smart contract languages are important, that this is the, and in fact, this is what we're taking to Web 2, is we're saying that really a smart contract language is just a better way to think about a transactional database. And so we're very bullish on that idea. So when you learn Pact, you're learning from the latest and greatest ideas, not just in blockchain engineering, but in database engineering and software engineering. And you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to be able to roll something out with Kadena and you know, bask in the comfort of knowing that your application is going to be safe, and it's running on a scalable platform. And soon you're going to have like layer 2s that will allow you to, you know, get fast finality, and even have reached other platforms. So it's never been a better time. And this isn't even marketing speak. It is literally never a better time to become a Pact developer than today, especially with the JavaScript monorepo and all the stuff we're doing. It is really become the premier application, you know, distributed application development environment out there.
I'd like to add to that. I'll keep it super short so we can get to the next question, which is, like, the context of the question. Can you put the question back up, Tyler?
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to make sure that I have the right frame.
Wow, we have this is incredible. Our
Maybe
number
anyway,
of questions
so
here is
it was about, like, if you're
why would a young developer, you know,
so
he doesn't know Solidity, doesn't know how
putting myself back into that time when I was a young developer and just learning stuff, like a big part of what I was doing then was like just finding things that had, just finding different languages that had different things in them that I was curious about and learning about them, which went on to inform how I design systems and my software career overall in a very positive way. So, like, one example that I'll give you from Pact, because Stuart already talked about the most like modern stuff when it comes to database languages and design and things like that. It's absolutely right. Just like the capability-based security model inside of Pact is insanely rare. Like, for the most part, when you are using systems, you're doing something along the lines of like a key access list, where it's like like username, login, you log in, and then you have like credentials. Yeah, and we have the other thing, the other design pattern, which is capabilities. And outside of, I think, like Plan 9 has caps, and like this one random thing from Google that went nowhere has caps, and like that's it. It's like literally one of the only places that you can actually go and explore caps. And like that will inform the way you think about systems long term. So I just want to say, like, just from like a curiosity perspective of like, not even, okay, like, yes, you can use this, and yes, it will work, and yes, you can have confidence in it. But beyond all of that, just like you can actually learn about capabilities in a production system that isn't just kind of some little thing on the side that no one actually uses in production. So yeah, I would just go with that as like you can't really experience them anywhere else in the world.
All right, I'm going to switch over to some of the live questions here. We have so many incredible questions coming in, and I know that it's going to be tough because we're not going to be able to answer all of them. But what I would say is for the next 2 minutes only, if there's a question that's already been asked that you think someone else asked that was a great question, please feel free to repost in the chat, as that'll be my informal vote of what questions are most popular. But until then, I want to jump to this great question from Mashina. How are institutions and major players going to be able to distinguish from so much noise? Everyone has the solution, but I really feel like Kadena is amongst the only ones who really does have it.
Will, you muted?
I was going to say, that's a tough question. And I mean, this goes actually like a touch of history on this. So, like when we were back doing our stuff for enterprise, we were actually having a pretty good time of going and finding clients and getting projects that were real and made sense. And then IBM basically came in, and everywhere that we were, they went to the C-suite and kicked us out, and also went around to the rest of the industry and pushed Hyperledger, and it was a hot flaming pile of dog shit, and it didn't work. And they poisoned that well for like 5 years. So I think like the next round, when we actually can go for industrial, just as a on a macro level, it will be better because at least no one's going to trust IBM anymore. So like we can actually go with other things because IBM messed it up so bad before. But outside of that, it's just going to be like showing. It's going to be a couple of use cases. Getting in with some of like the R&D groups at different companies, getting those out and having them be realer than just like putting NFTs on sneakers. Because like those ones are kind of obvious. They don't really push the industry forward that much. And what exactly those ones are going to be, I think it's going to be much more bespoke. I wouldn't be surprised if it's related to auth, or if it's related to this public infrastructure idea that Stuart and I were that Stuart was talking about before. Stuart, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think this isn't the question we're answering. The question about like what's going to be the solution, and that Kadena has the kind of technology that can really make the difference. If we could bring that question up, that'd be great. I think the real difference is like being able to talk to what people really want and the kinds of change they really want to make. The thing we're facing. There we go. The thing we're facing today in both crypto and in Web 2 is that in both cases we've seen things with great promise not really delivering on all the ways that it was going to create more freedom for people. Now, crypto, this is what it's always been all about. That's what Satoshi set out to do. That's what Ethereum set out to do. It's always been it hasn't crypto, but we all know that that's not what that crypto hasn't really cinched that yet. Even within crypto, we don't see crypto being primarily used for things that makes users' lives better. We see it as a way to pump meme coins and create pumpy environments and all this kind of stuff. And I think NFTs have been interesting, and there's always I'm not trying to be negative about it. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on, but I think most people have realized that crypto has not realized its potential. But likewise, Web 2 and internet has not realized its potential. Again, this is something I'm old enough to remember when people were talking about the internet in the 90s, and even in the 2000s, and people really thought that this was going to be this way to like kind of break down barriers. And now we see that thanks to large monopolies and all this kinds of stuff, that internet is actually creating barriers and is locking people in and selling their data and doing all these kinds of things. So one of the things that we're really focused on Kadena is the notion of access, in the sense of it's one of the reasons why Pact is human readable on the blockchain. It's one of the reasons why Pact is easy to learn. It's the idea that you need to get the technology into people's hands in a way that they feel safe, in the way that they feel like the platform has got their back, and that they are not going to be hindered to do the things that they want to do. So again, some of this, the way that we're going to be pushing this narrative is through showing like, really exceptional user experiences. But I think that's really what it's got to be. You can't, Kadena, it's the old VHS versus beta story. You can't win on better tech. You can't win on building a better mousetrap. You have to actually show people that there are things that you can do on Kadena that you can't do anywhere else. And, we know that. And that's all we think about these days is like, how can we, bring the possibilities of Kadena blockchain technology, of Pact smart contract technology, to make these like user experiences that are actually going to be like completely transformative and different than like anything anybody has experienced. So that's how, you know, in other words, so there's, and this is something that like everybody, you know, everybody who loves Kadena and everybody who's in the community can be talking about too, is that the kinds of things you can do on Kadena that you can't do anywhere else. And there'll be a lot more for you to talk about in the upcoming months.
Awesome. Awesome. Quick answer, quick question. Ledger is under audit. Next. All right. So let me see here. I'm trying to catch up here. We have a, I just lost a great question, but I'll jump back to one from Discord actually. So there's been some questions about layer 2. So this is one from Kadena Ireland. When can we expect to have a roadmap of some sort for layer 2?
That's a great question, and it's one we're working on actively. There will be a roadmap shortly. We're still kind of figuring out core technical questions about what the ultimate direction of the layer 2 technology is going to be. Spoiler alert, it's probably going to involve ZK. So the end state for Kadena-based rollups is most likely, but we've got an interesting twist on the story. We've actually got a few interesting twists on the story. We just started working with another team. Because remember, the stuff that's ZK on Pact right now is for privacy. ZK rollups is a different kind of technology. So if you were around Kadena 2 years ago, we did our chain relay bonding platform, but we were never able to locate a partner who could handle the Ethereum connection part of that, right? And that's one of the reasons why the chain relay never ended up actually serving assets and bridging assets across from Ethereum. But that was an example of us actually rolling out an extremely durable, like, remember, we ran bonding for a year with you know, something like 13 million TVL locked up in it. Not a single outage, not a single break, no funds were stolen. Everybody, you know, like it was a real example of how you can roll out powerful software in Pact that's never existed before. Because remember, it used Tezos style rolls, bonds of 50,000 KDA. And, you know, worked with the relay to, you know, be this kind of proposal-based system. You know, it wasn't a copy paste. It was brand new code, and it, you know, and it worked, and it offered, and because we have a scalable environment that doesn't get shut down like we're seeing with Bitcoin today with the new meme coins on there, you know, where like now you're having to wait like, you know, 3 days to get a vanilla Bitcoin transaction through because there's too many Pepe coins coming through. You know, Bitcoin didn't magically become scalable, right? That's important because, you know, that means that like when you want to do something different with Kadena, you know, and remember, because layer 2 ultimately has to clear to layer 1. So if your layer 1 can't do something like bonding, can't do like kind of basic economic-based security, and that's indeed what all the layer 2s on Ethereum are crippled by. You know, let's review. Optimism, Arbitrum, all of these like Ethereum layer 2s still don't have fraud proofs. You know, they've been talking about fraud proofs for 3 years. They still haven't turned them on. You still can't do a fraud proof in Optimism or Arbitrum. And that's because, guess what? It's way too much gas and nobody really knows how to turn that on without like it costing like $50,000 per proof. So, so as of today, these are still centralized solutions. So, so the roadmap, when it comes out, is going to be, you know, we're going to, you know, we're not going to wait forever. We're going to roll something out, you know, quite quick and make it available to users initially through a centralized offering. Then we're going to move to something like the chain relay, so where it's backed by real economic security, you know, so that you don't have to do, it's not optimistic. You actually like vote on things on the way in. And then, you know, the part that is looking very likely that I'm happy to tease here because one way or another, we're going to be working with this technology, but it's starting to look like it's going to be the end state is ZK rollups. And by the way, those rollups are going to work on Kadena, on Ethereum, you know, Cosmos, any other platform that where you can host the kind of ZK technology. You're going to be able to have a Pact layer 2 that can clear that.
Packed everywhere, baby. Love it. And we have a sort of related question from the chat, almost anticipating this, Stuart. To what extent will a new layer 2 ZK solution affect the hypothetical TPS of Kadena, and how would it interact with the multi-chain model?
You know, well, I mean, that's that thing, you know, people, you know, some people love our 480K number, some people hate it, but the way we were able to come up with that number is we just said, what would a fully utilized 20 chain layer 1 Kadena look like if there were, at that point we were talking about Kuro. You know, Kuro is, you could see Kuro as a layer 2, but it's a private layer 2, and that's the main thing if you want to know what's different about our old private blockchain technology Kuro and the layer 2, is that the layer 2 is an open technology like like Optimism, Arbitrum, and these other things. It's something that anybody can submit transactions to, and all of its security is guaranteed by the layer 1. Whereas Kuro was a permissioned blockchain that basically meant that you had proof of authority, consensus going on in that blockchain, and it's kind of like one, it's private. There's no way to really open up the permissioning for who runs that, and two, it's just not like that's. People want to see an open system. People want to see something that is leveraging the security of the layer 1 to provide the layer 2, but get you fast finality. But here's the good news. Those numbers, 480K, that's just the beginning. Because the point is, we're not talking about one layer 2. You can have as many layer 2s as you like. We could have a layer 2 for each chain, or where that 480 number, you could have 3 layer 2s for each chain. And Pact achieves the kind of numbers in a layer 2 environment that we saw in Kuro. So it's really like a multiplication problem. A standalone layer 2 is going to be many orders of magnitude faster. It's actually going to be faster than Kuro because it's going to be based on Kadena technology, which means it's actually going to have multiple threads. It's going to, multiple execution contexts on the layer 2. Another thing that's slowing down Arbitrum and Optimism is that the fact that they're basically using a normal EVM, which means they only have a single thread of execution. Well, guess what? We have the technology for scaling blockchain technology, and guess what? It works on layer 2 as well. So that means that all the things that make our layer 1 scalable is going to make our layer 2 outperform other layer 2s. And then eventually that technology is going to be available to platforms like Ethereum. And then, people are going to be able to see that the kind of that the same thing that we were talking about at the beginning, that Will was talking about at the beginning of this interview, that, until you have basic building blocks like concurrency, you can't really start talking about modern technology. And this is the kind of thing that we're going to bring to layer 2.
I'll add to it a touch, which is, the multi-chain model. So we have our layer 1, which is great for settlement. The layer 2 for, the ZK1 will be really good for privacy, but also for some scalability. It's not infinite because it's ZK. And then, having a non-ZK layer 2, or something that just uses ZK for settlement, but it takes place more in the plane, then that'll be great for things that require fast finality. And this is kind of the way that I think about it of the multi-chain model, is you're just kind of adding, it's almost like, all right, we have a multi-threaded CPU that's at the core, and now we're adding RAM for this, and we're adding an SSD for this versus a regular hard drive for different things. So it's kind of the way, if you're just using the computer metaphor, that's the way I think about it. I think one of the weirdest ideas that I've run into for the zero knowledge integration is the idea of actually having a zero knowledge proof that shuffles between the chains at specific block heights, so that you can transfer money into it and then take it out on a different chain, cross chain wise, so that the cross chains aren't actually all in the public clear. I'm pretty sure it's doable, but it's this is definitely a 2024, 2025 kind of hack week project to see if can we actually have private cross chain transactions too? But that'll be for later.
I think that to a certain extent, a ZK rollup is a form of private cross-chain technology because, there's 2 ways to do it. One is ZK just kind of lives on the layer 1 and says, yeah, that thing happened. Another way is that it says, yeah, that thing happened, and it produces results on the layer 1. So
usually they're linked one-to-one, the thing you're interacting with off-chain with a specific chain in our model, because you can't just have them, at least I don't know if we can have them being able to interact with individual chains at the same time, just because the ZK things aren't quite concurrent, but maybe. Again, I was just learning about ZK at the last conference I was at. It's come a long way since when I first started looking into it. I think I definitely need to dive more into literature.
Well, and some of the stuff that I can't talk about just yet is even kind of more crazy than that, which is the idea, which is the idea that you could actually translate packs straight to a ZK circuit. That is again, people on this call, you're getting the latest news like this, you want a roadmap, you're going to get a roadmap. This is not necessarily going to be in said roadmap, because this is something that we're, this is extremely cutting edge technology that we're working with a really great team right now on. But, there's basically been work, circuits, ZK circuits are these big things. They're very compute intensive. They're extremely hard to write. They're basically kind of monolithic. And there has been research in small step ZK. And the only thing it really works with is a Turing incomplete language. Have I heard of a Turing incomplete language? Yes, I have. It's called Pact. So, so that might, and then the other thing that we're looking at, and I just had a conversation about this yesterday, and, this is, again, so, none of this is necessarily proven, but the idea is that, to what you're saying, Will, is that we might be able to, like, a lot of people don't work with SPV the way we do. Like, we've really taken SPV to the bank. Like, it's what powers Chainweb. It's the way we do cross-chain. It's the way, and the idea being that maybe there's a way that the way that SPV kind of makes a subset of facts provable is try to somehow integrate that with ZK so ZK can work on a subset of facts. So that, because as you were saying right now, it's not just Kadena, it's all ZK stuff. It's basically a lockstep thing. You have to be transmitting everything over to the ZK, and it basically has to be verifying everything. What if, because we have this ability to kind of select the facts that we care about, what if that could tell some kind of story in ZK that is, based on a subset of what happened on the other chain as opposed to the whole story? But, well, in case you can't tell, I'm channeling Lars, which means I understand about 5% of what I'm saying.
I'm excited for this.
Well, Stuart's 5% is a lot more than most of our 100%, so that's pretty good. All right, we have a question from KDB, also saw was asked by someone on Discord as well. Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, Deloitte, and other partners to launch a blockchain network. Isn't the time now that Kadena should get in contact with them?
No.
Well, are you going to comment on that username?
KDB, oh my God. Sorry, KDB is this, like, it's this language, this financial language that I was doing back at the SEC, where it's what, J is the baseline? Anyway.
No, K is the baseline. J is an offshoot. K is the base language.
Oh, and then it's Q is the scripting one.
Right,
Yeah.
Q is the...
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't even want to go into it. Anyway, so yeah, KDB is the name of that thing. It's a very cool technology that is extremely antiquated at this point, but is also crazy fast for very specific things. Yeah, I would say probably not. I mean, maybe, but their types of stuff is usually mostly for press releases, frankly. I'd rather actually go to a smaller group and do something real than at least talk to like Deloitte. But I could be wrong. Like, maybe they're working on something super real that I just am not aware of yet. Yeah,
I mean, it's worth reminding the audience. I think every single person on this list has had a blockchain announcement, a major blockchain announcement, almost every year. Like Deloitte, for sure. Microsoft, I can think of at least 2 or 3 times. Goldman Sachs, for sure. So which one is this? Which partnership?
Maybe it's the herald of the end of crypto winter. Now that they're starting to talk about it again.
That's the alpha signal.
That's a TLDR.
It is sometimes. Yeah.
Right on.
But the thing is that I mean, I get why they asked the question. I mean, we're from JP Morgan. Indeed, some of the people we were talking to, like, we had POCs going on with Bank of New York. We had a lot of, we're I don't know if we talked to Goldman, but we were talking to Fidelity. We were talking to lots of people. So, the thing to realize about a lot of these big codes is that, like Will said, they can put out a press release without, they can announce these things and fire up a few groups and, and achieve whatever objective they're trying to achieve just by announcing these things as being like tech forward or something like that. So we're a little cynical, to put it mildly. But it's one of those things that, like, I think that's right, that, like, at least we would be working with like a Square or something like that. Like, I can't see really working with these, behemoth institutions on anything real. They're, whatever they're going to be doing, they're going to be trying to, like, kind of suck up technology that they see is already pretty much shrink wrapped and, like, and then try to turn that around into something else. Even JP Morgan, and we like what they did with where they went with JPM Coin and Quorum and all that stuff. Like, it was very, it would, even if they didn't, like, become like Kadena, they moved JPM Coin away from our technology, but, like, we appreciated the fact that JP Morgan was actually serious about blockchain innovation. But again, let's look at what they actually achieved. What they actually achieved was basically a small market pilot that is not, hasn't, you know, nobody's paying any attention to. Nobody thinks about, I think it's called Link with 2 I's, Link. Nobody pays any attention to it. So it's the kind of thing that, like, you know, if we did that, we'd be doing it for the press release too. And I don't know if you've noticed, but that's just not how Kadena rolls.
Right on, right on. Question I'll take very briefly from Azaltarian. Do any of you three invest back into the KDA ecosystem projects at all? Hugely. So that's what Kadena Eco is all about. And of course, we have the grantees and investments that are made directly from there. So huge investors in the KDA ecosystem.
Well, wait, Crowley. Are you personally?
So I invested in a few projects before I joined my role as Kadena Eco. And now that I have sort of privileged information to projects, I don't invest in them directly, but rather do it institutionally through Kadena Eco. Exactly. So I've seen a few projects on here that people have been talking a lot about, like, for example, Crank. That was a grantee that I helped drive through. I'm a huge fan of Crank personally. I think, yeah, some of the comments in the chat around how Crank is driving a lot of the transactions on Kadena right now, and driving use cases, in some cases increasing gas fees. This is all healthy adoption and an example of a project that's, I think, really taken off. Likewise, Kadena Mining Club, another project very passionate about, helped drive a grant through with them. And, you know, that team has been doing incredible stuff in terms of showing off the powers of Marmalade, in terms of fractionalizing mining ownership through NFTs, showing how proof of work systems can create some of these return profiles that people historically only associated with proof of stake, with the same sort of digital convenience. And so I'd say that, you know, all three of us are very passionate about the ecosystem itself, not just the underlying core technologies. Yeah, absolutely huge fans. So just wanted to address that briefly.
And just to be at pains to say that I myself, I'll speak for myself, I do not personally invest in any of these projects, because that would be a form of favoritism. So instead, you know, what we do is we turbocharge Tyler and the rest of the eco team's efforts. You know, the grant program is going full steam, and, you know, we're incredibly bullish about, Kadena is incredibly bullish, Kadena Eco is incredibly bullish about all the great projects that we're funding, and those are only getting better. I mean, like, everything you're hearing about, there's stuff in the pipeline that's going to blow your mind.
Absolutely. All right, so we still have a huge number of questions here. We're sort of at time, but I'm going to maybe extend for a couple minutes longer, if that's okay with everyone, just because we have such great engagement and really good questions here. So wanted to, let's see here. Oh, I love this question. We already had one from Prickles Galanat. Oh, sorry for the pronunciation here. PG, we already had a question from you, but this is a really good one, so I want to bring it up. Kadena mentions mass adoption as its goal, but what % are we to achieving this goal? How far are we from this, and what key partnerships will lead to mass adoption?
I can start it up if he wants to. % of the way there. I mean, it's hard to say, because, like, you don't really, I feel like these things tend to be a bit exponential, like we've seen on, you know, some of the networks like Ethereum, when like CryptoKitties came along. Like, there was some adoption, all of a sudden CryptoKitties hit the scene and just, like, everything spiked, and then it hit the roof and then bounced back down, which is of course the reason that we designed Kadena the way we did, so that when things spike up, we can actually grow and scale and not lose all that momentum. So % of the way there, I don't know. We're definitely, I don't know. We're definitely 8% of the way into it, and it's increasing. And I think the rate at which it's increasing is increasing. But again, I don't think of these things as like, oh, it's going to go from like 1% to 5% to 10% to 15. It's going to go from like 1 to 5 to 20 to 50 type of deal. And otherwise, for key partnerships, I think the main thing right now is just getting the developer experience there. And, you know, getting like Wallet Connect v2 getting out with Koala Wallet, I think, is a big step forward. Hopefully, once Ledger is out of audit, then like actually getting that integrated as well, I think that's going to be a big step forward. And then after that, it's going to be, I think, probably working with some startups to build up some use cases that are like real adoption of the technology. Definitely, I think it's going to come out of the front end ecosystem. And after that happens, then I think I can see things snowballing really quickly from there. But, you know, it's a very good time for it, because, you know, crypto winners do cut out a lot of the crap. Like, you know, we did take the big hit with, we didn't take a big hit personally, because we weren't involved with FTX, but, like, you know, crypto took a hit with FTX and Sam pulling this bullshit. So there's going to be like a little bit more of a lag before people get over crypto winner again, and like we can actually go and do some proper adoption. but it's still, I think, a really good time.
Beautiful. Maybe we'll try and pop off a couple last questions as popcorn here. So we have one around a favorite topic. Will the number of chains increase in the near future?
I think that is actually, that's a really interesting question. That again, why we're, we do things very deliberately, Kadena. I know people probably wish we would just make crazy announcements all the time, but like this goes back to the layer 2 roadmap question. One of the things we're trying to figure out is exactly how our multi-chain solution on layer 1 really powers layer 2 and what that means and what we're using layer 2 for. So one of the answers to that question could well be that certain chains might end up being dedicated to just providing security for certain layer 2s. If that's the case, then that's a reason to add. Yeah, I mean, we could probably do a few right now, but like as layer 2s grow, that'd be the kind of thing that we would jump to more chains. And when we do jump to more chains, it's not like 21. Will, what's the next number?
50. Yeah. I want to connect it back to a comment that actually Tyler had, which is about Crank and our investment in the ecosystem, which is that they're driving up some of the gas fees. So we talk about having like low to no gas fees and how that's important for long-term adoption. And like that is true, and also Crank driving up like gas fees in the short term is also true, and these are both good things. So the idea with Kadena is that with gas fees, what you don't want is permanent high gas fees like you have with Bitcoin, Ethereum, because that just really just neuters your adoption way too early. So like Crank driving up gas fees on certain chains will then provide pressure to the ecosystem and the developers to go more multi-chain and to spread out and inhabit the rest of the network. And then as the fees go up across the network, and as the fee is going to be related to the network saturation, how many transactions are going through in a given period of time. And once that's hitting 50%, we're going to be looking at that and saying, all right, well, it's time to get ready to do a hard fork to go up to 50 chains. And then it's going to be rinse, repeat. When we're at 50% capacity on average for the 50 chain network, then it's going to be 100. Then it's probably going to be either 250 or 500, something like that, and then 1,000. So I just wanted to pull it back of us seeing higher gas fees is a good thing, and at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's going to be permanent, because as developers spread out across the network and saturate the network, then we're going to just increase the network size, and then that's just the story of how it's going to go.
Right on, right on. All right, here. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. I'm sorry, I'm milking the clock here because this is a lot of fun and such a great conversation here. I wanted to jump to a question from Koning Gert from Discord. Do you expect Kadena to be used for bank transfers, stocks, and so on, or would you expect each company to build their own tech instead of getting on board on Kadena?
Well, that's the kind of stuff we were talking about with the stuff that we're going to be pushing, and around, kind of some of Randy's efforts, and we're going to start seeing more stuff happening with this in eco that, yes, but not necessarily the way you might think, in the sense that increasingly, Kadena is not just going to be a layer 2 technology, it's also going to be a web technology. It's even going to be an embedded technology, with the idea being that you could use ZK transfers to, not share data, right? You could prove your age from your phone to another packed application without having to reveal any other data. And so the idea being is that it's the combination of ZK for confidentiality and for rollups, and just having a multi-network solution that I think you are going to see bank settlements, stock trades, all of that stuff happening in the Kadena ecosystem and settling to our layer 1 ultimately. But it may not have to settle for weeks, months, who knows. It's the kind of thing that settlement layers are the kind of things that that users shouldn't really know about. It's the kind of thing that they just use a killer app, and that killer app is powered by Kadena. Is it settling on layer 2? Is it settling on layer 1? Why should they care? They just want to trade some stocks. They just want to have a bank account. They want to own property. They want to do all these kinds of things. And they want to have in-game currency. They want to have NFTs. They want to have all these kinds of stuff. This is, by the way, why the smart wallet stuff is going to be so important, is that they're really going to be interacting with a wallet that is defined in packed code, and using some of the exciting new KIPs working on for that. and they're not going to, why should you even know where it's running? You just know what your assets are. You want to do cool things with them. That's the end state.
All right, we're going to take two last questions. I'll take one briefly from the Kadena Eco hat, and then we'll end on I think a nice question for community and particularly for Will and Stuart. So first from New Type, can we see a stablecoin forked from the RAI protocol? TLDR, a stablecoin coin that is backed purely by KDA, but not pegged to the US dollar. So I'll just say that, first of all, we are in conversations with folks that are developing this style of algorithmic stablecoins and looking into bringing those onto Kadena. We're also looking at other approaches that include bringing a wrapped stablecoin from Ethereum over to Kadena, or alternatively integrating directly with some of these prominent stablecoins, bringing them directly onto Kadena. And so we're pursuing multiple paths in parallel there. And definitely stablecoins are a huge focus. We recognize how important stablecoins are, how important these DeFi primitives are for DEXs, for lending, etc. So stay tuned there. But yes, we are definitely on that. And that's a very good suggestion and idea. So we're looking into that style of coin as well. Thanks for that question, New Type. All right. So the last question I wanted to bring up, as we do have to end the party here at some point. This is from Amir from Discord. From a community perspective point of view, what can or do you recommend we do better to engage with Kadena on the current initiatives and add value to current or future initiatives? How can community help?
I mean, that's why we're here, right? We want you guys to know what we're doing, and we want to get you in on our thinking and give you the full picture. You know, Will and I are happy to do this anytime. Like, you know, what would we rather do than like talk about all the great things going on at Kadena? You know, the thing is that, you know, stay tuned where, you know, like this stuff is trickling out. If you've been paying attention to these, you're on the cutting edge because you know what's coming next. So anything we say here, you can share. So it's not, you know, there's no, obviously we wouldn't say, I mean, you know, let's hope we said everything right. You know, but like the point is that, you know, for now with some of these new initiatives, you know, just be telling the good story. But there'll be a lot more meat on this bones, you know, very, very soon. We're hoping to finish the tech strategy for all this stuff by the end of the month. And, you know, again, we do things deliberately here. So we don't just throw ideas. We don't just put things on our roadmap to win some points. We actually, when we put this stuff on, it's going to be real and we're going to be tracking towards it every day. So when that happens, there's going to be a lot of great stories to tell. But, you know, it's also like questions about new projects and, you know, looking at the projects that are there. There's a lot of amazing things happening on the Kadena platform right now. So telling the good story about, you know, the kinds of things that are happening under the Kadena Eco banner. It's all good. And, you know, and just, you know, it's a tough time to be in crypto. So, you know, thanks for being here and thanks for believing in Kadena. And it's going to work out. We're all going to make it.
Right on. From Will's last campfire, we also had a discussion around community managers and folks. We know that there's a number of people in the community that are so passionate about Kadena that do incredible work. And the more of you we have, the better this project's going to grow. And for those of you that want to make it a profession, we do have a job opening for community manager. So please feel free to check that out. And just want to say to the Kadena Army, it's always such a pleasure to have you here.
Check out our jobs in general, because we are hiring in many different areas, and you can really get into making this thing go to the moon.
No, man, there's so many more people now. I'm gonna need a Facebook, like a, you know, name and face like sheet for our next offsite. Like, yeah.
Will, any closing thoughts from you?
No, Stu pretty much nailed the last one, that last question. So, and then I was just gonna be like, yeah, like also, you know, we have the community job manager thing, but you already said it. So, no, that's it.
Right on. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this Kadena Campfire. Such a pleasure to have Will and Stuart with us here today. I think this has been a fantastic engagement on the community side, and I hope we've been able to answer a lot of your questions. We didn't get to every question, and that's why we are on Community Campfire number 13 and have number 14 coming up. So please keep coming back in. And this is a wonderful way to help share Kadena and spread the word and hopefully get questions asked and answered so that we can all be better ambassadors for what's going on in the ecosystem and help people stay informed. So until next time, Kadena Army, stay strong. You are the lifeblood here of this community and helping build this ecosystem to be the best iteration and the best advance in blockchain yet. So it's such a pleasure to work with you all, and can't wait to see what we can all build together. Be well.